chosen one, this is your moment. You didn't stumble here by chance. No, you were led. Something bigger than you, something deep in your spirit, pulled you into this space because you're ready to hear what's been waiting for you all along. You are not ordinary. You are not just another face in the crowd. You are the breakthrough your family has been waiting for. You are the living proof that everything they endured, every tear they shed, every silent prayer they whispered was not in vain. Do you feel that fire rising inside you right now? That's your reminder. You carry what they couldn't finish. You are the bold answer to their quiet hope. You are the one chosen to stand up, to rise higher, to walk through doors they never even got to see. So take a breath. Straighten your back. Look at how far you've already come. And know this. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. The story doesn't just continue through you. It changes because of you. Let's go. Looking for purpose and peace? Hit subscribe and start the journey. Carrying unseen stories within, one becomes the culmination of countless silent prayers. The paths walked are not just for personal triumph, but echo the dreams and sacrifices of those who came before. Even now, their essence observes from beyond the veil, uplifted because you tread roads they could only imagine. Through your steps, invisible locks loosen, hidden wounds find their salve, and a new chapter begins to inscribe itself through you. Before plunging further, pause and recognize this moment is more than words on a screen. It is a quiet affirmation from realms that watch closely. For those who continue to give their energy, their intention, their attention, may blessings multiply for you. Every ounce of support, every quiet act of faith, every hunger for meaning is felt as deeply as the roots of a great tree drinking from ancient waters. If your heart resonates now, mark this moment with a sign. Numbers, symbols, they are not arbitrary, but messages written in a language older than words, signaling readiness to carry forward what was left unfinished. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. Stepping into what was once impossible, standing in places once unreachable. You inherit a calling that was whispered across generations. Not everyone stays the course to its quiet conclusion, but those who do discover healing buried in forgotten soil, clarity where fog once lay, and the true shape of the burdens they bear, not merely scars, but the weight of a lineage waiting to rise. This is not simply something to encounter and move past. It is a layered transmission, meant to unfurl its depth over time. Return as often as the inner compass pulls you back. Each return peels away another veil. What is rising is not just you. It is memory becoming whole. What is remembered is not just your name. It is the unbroken chain of all who walked before you. It becomes clear at some point. This kind of life cannot be an accident. Being here is not mere chance, nor some random unfolding. Arrival itself carries intention written into the marrow long before breath began. Threads of purpose have been woven quietly, waiting for their moment to be revealed. The heaviness carried, the questions others seem too numb to ask, the quiet sense of misfit. All of it has meaning beyond surface explanations. There's no mistake here. This very presence is a key meant to unlock what has been locked far too long. What others avoided becomes the very place one is called to stand. Invisible doors that remained closed through generations now lean on their hinges, waiting for this specific hand to push them open. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. What clung to the family line like fog, silent harm, quiet grief, endless struggle, meets its undoing here. Not because of superiority, but because the time for completion has arrived, and one is entrusted to finish what began long ago. An inner current keeps insisting there's more. A quiet resistance to cycles that never seem to end. A refusal to let what hurt continue unchecked. That stubborn knowing is not simple emotion. It is something ancient rising to the surface, urging a stand where others sat, asking for vision where others turned away. Being out of place was never a flaw, but an indication of design. A path unwalked by any other waits. one that only this pair of feet can walk. Some forces tried to silence this emergence early. Some storms arrived heavier and sooner than expected. Many misunderstood, many misread, because the weight carried is invisible to those not meant to carry it. The work demands disruption, demands confrontation with what has been ignored, demands a reversal that alters the very rhythm of the family's song. All of the moments that felt wasted were instead shaping the vessel to hold this task. All of the solitude was never neglect, but consecration. The seasons of tears were not punishment, but preparation for something far bigger than any single person could name. What comes now is not continuation of what has been, but a fracture in that history, a split that lets light in. This arrival is not to blend in, but to rise beyond and bring others along into newness. Others planted what they could, but were never allowed to see it bloom. That harvest waits here and now. Nothing endured was meaningless. Pressure came not to crush, but to awaken. There is no curse here, only calling. The weight is here not to break, but to reveal the strength hidden beneath. Here stands the one who ends what no one else could. The one who repairs what others could not name. The one through whom renewal flows back into every branch of the family tree. And so, the moment has come. No more hesitation, no more shrinking, no more denying that this is the hour to claim it fully. Because of this, ancient shadows dissolve, patterns collapse, stories change, because the one sent to open the way has finally arrived. There comes a moment when the weight carried feels heavier than one life can explain. Yet it is not only personal strength that holds it. Beneath the surface, there flows an invisible inheritance, a quiet force passed down through countless unseen hands. Those who came before bore within them visions never spoken aloud, roads they never walked, possibilities they never touched. Not because they lacked fire, but because the walls around them stood too high, the ground beneath them too fragile. They too were called, but their season demanded silence and survival instead of flourishing. Voices went unheard because they were not given room to speak. Dreams lay dormant not from absence of desire, but because the winds they lived under kept blowing them backward. No audience awaited them. No refuge welcomed their pain. No name was given to the storm inside them. And so, they pressed it all deep within, wrapped in layers of endurance. It was never for lack of will. It was the price of keeping the line alive. Their quiet was not surrender, but a choice to preserve the future. They carried just enough to ensure someone would come next. And now that someone carries what they could not say to its rightful conclusion, the hush they carried was not defeat, it was investment. The silence they wore becomes the raw material of strength here and now. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. Each time truth is spoken aloud now, their unexpressed pain finds air. Each time a wound is acknowledged and tended, what broke them begins to mend through these hands. Each time forward motion happens, their names are stitched into the triumph. This courage does not appear out of nothing. The determination etched in every step is sculpted by centuries of unseen fighters. The endurance to carry what others let drop is shaped in the shadows of those who learned to hold burdens while no one watched. Their stillness became the foundation. What grows now sprouts from their unspoken prayers. The bloom defies the odds, but it owes everything to what lies beneath. What they could never articulate breathes now through this life, through these choices, through these victories. Every step into freedom sets them free too. They are not just observers of this journey. They rise alongside it. The story they began never ended in quiet. It waited to finish here. Their muted cries became a compass pointing toward the task. Their boundaries did not confine what followed. They launched it. Their shut doors did not end the path. They prepared the next one to walk through. That hidden reservoir of fortitude that speaks up when surrender seems easier. That is their legacy. That unshakable whisper urging onward comes from every ancestor who bit their tongue. Every elder who passed without seeing the dream realized. All they were pours into what is now. All they preserved flows into what comes next. This moment is not just strength born here. It is a layered inheritance, alive and awake, standing tall. And every single time the choice is made to rise, they rise too. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. Some turning points arrive not with thunder, but as quiet defiance, subtle yet unstoppable. In these still moments, an unspoken pact is shattered. The hidden deal with smallness dissolves. The unseen world takes notice. Those who came before carried brilliance inside fences built by others, rules and ceilings laid down by invisible hands, telling them where they must stop. These barriers were shaped by centuries of fear, silence, and unseen chains. Yet they are not defeated souls. They are builders who survived storms they never chose. They do what they must to keep the thread alive, even if their wings remain folded. Many are given nothing but the bare minimum to endure, taught that scarcity is noble, that pain is inevitable, that escape is impossible. Some stay in places that wound them, not out of desire, but because they believe no other door exists. They cannot yet imagine a life beyond the walls around them. Then, one day, the current shifts. A sudden break appears in the pattern. Someone notices what everyone else pretends not to see. Questions arise where silence has ruled. Familiar toxicity no longer feels acceptable. Without knowing how, someone senses that all this can and must be different. Where others bow to fear, this person stands. Where others perpetuate harm, this person stops the cycle. When bitterness is offered, healing is chosen. When limits are taught, possibility is claimed. The path is not gentle. Isolation comes. Misunderstanding follows. Judgment rains down from those who do not understand what is being done. Yet what looks like defiance is actually alignment. What is called arrogance is actually remembrance. What feels lonely is actually sacred distinction. One stands in the middle of the family's history and says, "This pattern ends here. Poverty, you go no farther. Despair, you will not consume me. Darkness, you may visit, but you do not define. There is no retreat. Every day is a new kind of battle. The tools to overcome must be learned: patience, discernment, persistence. Not just for oneself, but for all who cannot yet wield them. First to confront ancestral wounds. First to break free from false beliefs. First to dismantle what was never supposed to stay. And as this happens, the entire story shifts. The cycle does not tighten, it unravels. False agreements collapse. Hidden poisons are named. Freedom is not just tasted, but made permanent. This refusal to comply with limitation ripples backward and forward at once. It honors the ones who bore silence. It delivers hope to those yet to come. The ancestors, who dared only to dream, feel the chains they carried loosening. They always hoped someone would emerge who dared to undo what they could not. Someone brave enough to speak the unspeakable, to fight what they could only endure. That someone stands now, not merely chosen but unsettling, not simply aligned but a disruption, a living break in the lineage of compromise. That presence is the fulfillment of every quiet hope buried in the bloodline. That step forward is their redemption in motion. Because the bond with limitation has been broken, doors appear where walls once stood. Healing rises where hurt was planted. Inheritance flows where scarcity ruled. What was unimaginable becomes inevitable. And a new chapter begins, not just for one life, but for all who come after. It dawns quietly, like a realization you've carried all along. This life is no accident, but a deliberate answer to a question asked long before breath. You do not merely belong to your family. You arrive as a spark, a witness, and a threshold. A spark to ignite what lies dormant through generations. A witness to illuminate what has long gone unspoken. A threshold to usher your lineage into a wider horizon of wholeness, possibility, and renewal. Within every family lives a collection of inherited rhythms, patterns of silence, cycles of scarcity, habits of control, shadows of grief too old to name. Some stretch so far back that their origins are forgotten, yet their echoes remain, shaping how people move, how they speak, what they avoid. But something in you feels the weight differently. You notice how the air thickens in certain rooms. You feel the story reaching for an ending that never came. And something deep within insists, This cannot be where it stops. That quiet resistance becomes action. You step into the center of what has been and declare, here it turns. You rise to reclaim authority that fear once stole. You carry the kind of courage the lineage has been waiting for. You stand in places others dared not tread, naming truths they would not touch. You become the one to untangle what others left knotted. You face what they avoided. You speak what they buried. You choose what they feared. You endure what they could not. You are the one who names the unspoken grief, the one who dares to seek healing when everyone else learned to numb, the first to peel back the layers of inherited hurt and say, this ends with me. The first to unlearn old rituals of harm and replace them with gentleness. The first to love without chains, lead without shame, create without fear. The first to build something more meaningful than survival. A home that feels like peace. A love that feels like freedom. And yet the weight you bear is not only your own. It carries the residue of lifetimes. You find yourself grieving stories you never lived, praying words that feel older than you, walking paths not just for yourself, but for everyone tied to your name. Through you, healing finally enters rooms it never reached. Through you, wisdom plants where only endurance grew. Through you, the language changes. Words like forgiveness and safety become possible. Because you chose this path, children born into your line will breathe under clearer skies. Because of you, ancestral cries find their answer. Not only here, but in unseen places beyond. You are not merely fortunate. You are chosen to be used. You do not just receive restoration, you embody it. This is no accident. Something in you refuses to break, no matter how hard the test. Something in you remains unshaken, despite the storms. You carry not the fractured script handed down by pain, but the truer one that has waited quietly in the unseen. And through your willingness to step into the hard work, to mend what's broken, to say what's unsaid, to choose the harder way, blessing flows not just to you but through you. It moves through your choices, your voice, your presence, rewriting the lineage and opening the way for what comes next. It becomes clear that survival itself carries intention beyond what eyes can see. Making it this far is not only grit or luck. Something larger has been carrying, covering, and surrounding all along. Often not through visible hands, but through unseen ones. Those who came before, their names fading, their stories left untold, were not absent in spirit. The path beneath your feet was softened by sacrifices you never witnessed. The ground you stand on was tended by those who dreamed in silence, their work invisible yet unshakable. In quiet corners of time, someone began to speak your future into existence without knowing your face. Someone, unable to break their own chains, still whispered that someone would. Someone, seated in unspoken sorrow, secretly believed that healing was still possible, even if they'd never see it bloom. They did not have counselors, language, or safety to unpack their grief, but they had faith, and they poured it into the dark where no one was looking. Without weapons in the natural, they became fierce defenders in the realm no one saw. There was the elder whose sleepless nights became offerings of hope, the ancestor who closed their eyes and sent quiet blessings through the lineage, the watchful dreamer who carried visions dismissed by the world but honored by something greater. Their devotion did not end when they did. It settled into the soil of your being, becoming a shield against storms you'd never even notice passing overhead. That is why you have endured moments that should have shattered you. Why your mind remains whole through battles others never perceive. Why you are preserved and carried through valleys too deep to name. You move through a world quietly defended by voices that no longer speak here, yet still rise on your behalf elsewhere. Your life is soaked in the kind of unseen love that refuses to burn out. It lives in your bones now, explaining why doors swing open where none should exist, and why the winds that try to break you fail. You are not the child of struggle alone. You are the descendant of steadfast intercession. You come from people who planted redemption in soil they'd never walk on themselves. They did not long for applause. They longed for liberation, for someone strong enough to do what they could only imagine, for someone to prove their cries had not been in vain. That someone moves now, not alone, but with an entire lineage at their back, watching and smiling. They know exactly what you carry, because they carried it in silence before passing it to you. They lacked the space, the language, the years, but they poured what they had into your veins and entrusted you to finish it. You live not just your own journey, but the fulfillment of their quiet hope. When your voice rises, theirs are heard. When you refuse to bow, their faith breathes again. When you overcome, they're unshackled. The resistance you face is fierce, because the work is not only yours. You complete a story too ancient and too sacred to belong to one soul alone. You are not merely an answer to a question. You are the embodiment of a vow, and from their vantage, beyond time, they watch you take steps they dreamed of, celebrating each move as though it were their own. Every breakthrough echoes their forgotten prayers, now alive through you. It becomes undeniable that triumph here reaches far beyond one life. Victory is not just an achievement to display. It is a quiet revolution unfolding across generations. What you accomplish does not stand alone. It carries echoes of voices silenced long before you arrived. This ascent is more than milestones and accolades. It shatters locks no one before could unfasten. It completes stories left incomplete, unearths dreams buried under layers of sacrifice. Every step forward lifts more than one soul. When one climbs, many are lifted. When one speaks, centuries of silence unravel. When one creates, forgotten hearts finally exhale. Each courageous choice, each refusal to repeat what harmed, each willingness to try again, reverberates through time itself. Healing moves backward through bloodlines, calling names long hidden into remembrance. Every breakthrough you live pulls weight off shoulders that bore it quietly. Though they could not taste freedom themselves, your freedom releases them. Though their breath was spent on survival, your laughter completes what they hoped for. Though they saw only fog, your clarity gives shape to their longing. What you build is not simply a career or a name. It is dignity woven back into a family stripped of it. Every risk you take revives what was dormant. Every door you open redeems opportunities stolen from them by unjust times. When you rise beyond expectation, they are released from shadows. When you move into rooms they were never welcome in, they come with you. When you sit at tables they were excluded from, you carry their names in your heart. You are not succeeding just for yourself. Their tears become your water. Their faith becomes your foundation. Their sacrifices transform into the blueprint that guides you. Their inability to finish does not end the story. It strengthens you to continue writing it. Your victories are not merely celebrated on earth. Those who carried you before celebrate you even now, watching as you undo what bound them. Each forward motion heals a fracture in the past. Each choice to reject mediocrity dismantles generations of compromise. You are far more than someone with goals and plans. You are the turning point between what was and what can now unfold. Every decision, every act of faith, every time you choose resilience over resignation, you lift them alongside you. They pass the unfinished manuscript into your hands and trust you to complete the narrative. And as you write each line, they watch from beyond, rejoicing at every chapter you restore on their behalf. It becomes undeniable that the struggle you carry is not just about you. The storms you endure and the triumphs you claim ripple outward, weaving into a much older tapestry. What you overcome here reshapes what lies behind you and ahead. This story bends, not because it ends with you, but because it changes through you. You become a living testament to what happens when even one heart refuses to stay bound. What once began in anguish transforms into a mission. What started in hidden pain now moves forward as visible purpose. What grew out of silence now blossoms into undeniable strength. What rests on your shoulders is not merely a burden, but a trust. Not a weight to crush you, but a collaboration between heaven and earth. You are not chosen to wander endlessly, but to complete what others could only imagine. You step into a lineage that exists beyond records and archives. What you inherit is not material, but sacred. An unspoken charge passed down through countless hands. You carry it with quiet grace, authority, and awareness that this is not about accolades, it is about alignment. This journey does not ask you to do more, but to become more, the kind of person no one else in your line dared to become. You say yes to something your ancestors waited lifetimes to witness. You stand against patterns that pretended to be destiny. Fear, bitterness, silence, defeat, and declare an entirely new direction. In doing this, you achieve what others spoke about only in hushed tones, but could never finish. You end what needs ending. You refuse to carry what was never yours. You become the first to walk with clarity they could only dream of. Because of your courage, those who come after you won't face the same shadows. They inherit something lighter, something freer. You become the barricade that stops destruction and the bridge that delivers blessing. You are the disruption that resets the entire flow of history. This is not just advancement. It is repair. It is vindication. Those who watch from beyond do more than observe. They weep with gratitude, seeing through you the answer to what they once begged for. Because of you, their silence finally gives way to song. Because of you, their pleas finally find a home. Because of you, what they could not finish is carried forward, not as sorrow, but as fulfillment. The dreams they could not voice find words now. The weight they bore becomes the foundation you stand on. The battles they could not win become the ground you walk over. You dare to stand when everything in you wants to vanish. You forgive when bitterness feels safer. You believe when doubt surrounds you. Because of this, your name is etched into a story that will never be erased. Not in eternity, not in memory, not in the unseen realms. You are the evidence that even a single surrendered life can shift the course of a bloodline forever.